Welcome to another edition of Seahawks Forever, and this is our weekly show that we like to call the Hawks Film Lab. This is where Bryce Coutts of the Hawks Eye podcast, and also from an extensive background playing and coaching the quarterback position. He actually owns and operates a quarterback academy in Vancouver, BC, and actively is coaching offense in high school as well. So he comes on and we walk through some things, and each week we pick a certain topic, a certain player to focus on, maybe a certain concept. This week, we're going to talk about pressure. It has been a storyline in both the easy win at home against the Vikings 2 weeks ago and the easy win on the road against the Falcons yesterday. Both games very similar in the way they flowed, with the offense facing intense pressure in the first half, only to adjust in the second half and have some success. Bryce is going to join me today, help break it all down, try to find some answers for you. Where's the pressure coming from? Who's to blame? And how can they fix it? Up next on Seahawks Forever.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
Take advantage of the Sizzle All the Way sale going on right now at omahasteaks.com. Certified USDA steaks delivered fresh to your door, individually cryopacked in a cold case. This family-run business has been doing this for over 100 years. I've been eating their steaks since I was just a wee lad, and right now is the best time to get in on this offer. 50% off site-wide, plus an additional $35 off at checkout if you use the promo code FOREVER on omahasteaks.com. Also, the best time to get in on the Sleeper app, the number one sports app out there, not just football, but all the other sports as well. So you can get a jump on the baseball season if you want to, or hop in to NBA or NHL. And right now, if you sign up on the Sleeper app, they're going to give you $20 to get started. You don't even need to make a deposit. If you do want to make a deposit, though, they're going to match that first one up to $100, 100%. They are some of the best games of skill out there. Terms and conditions do apply. Again, check out the Sleeper app today. Use that promo code FOREVER to take advantage of this deal. All right, let's get into this with Bryce. This is a little bit longer one, but we get into some really cool stuff. And I think what you're going to see if you go into this thing with an open mind. I know offensive line play has been a hot button topic here for several years, and it's been a very polarizing topic, and we all argue about it. But I think you're going to see now, looking back over the last couple of weeks, where sacks have been more of an issue, that it's not just one problem. And when I look at how to solve something, that's one of the first things I'm looking at, right? Is it the same thing happening on every play? For instance, is it one player that just can't get the job done and we don't have anyone better on the roster? That would concern me more than what you're about to see. I think you're going to like Bryce's analysis here. And I'm not candy coating it. There's some criticism here, and there's some issues that need to be dealt with. Some of the issues might not be able to be fixed until the offseason. But as far as where the Seahawks team is today, where this offensive line is, where it needs to go for this team to advance deep in the playoffs, potentially contend for the Super Bowl, pay attention to what you're about to see. All right, Bryce. So we got these queued up, and what we did, because we didn't do a film lab last week, is there's a little bit here from the Minnesota game. There's a little bit here from the Atlanta game. I think 7 sacks between the two games when they only had 11 or 10 or 11 leading up to that point. So we thought we would take a look at some of the instances over the last 2 weeks where there was heavy pressure, and then you are going to tell us kind of why it happened, where it was coming from, and maybe what it means about this offense and how they can fix it.
Yeah, so this first one, I'm just going to play this through. This is, I believe, with less than a minute left in the first half. Seattle's moved the ball into some decent range here for an opportunity to field goal, and they kind of go into this quick pass set. So they're just trying to get the ball out of Sam's hand quick. They're in a full pass set, but the key thing here is if you look at what the Vikings do, and this is, again, Brian Flores, he loves to bring pressure. That's his thing. That's what he banks on, his pressure. So in that particular situation, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 8 guys. Seattle currently has in the block Charbonnet and AJ Barner, maybe Cup Chips, but really you've got your 5 and you got 7. So one guy is coming free. Somebody is coming free, which means it isn't a bad thing. All it means is your quarterback has to account for who that one free guy is. And quarterbacks are taught that, like, hey, we can block up a majority, but guess what? The free guy is your guy. So when we watch this play through here, and we'll go through it at full speed, you kind of see how the O-line initially, you've got Olu and them pick up Zabel, and what they do again, and this is where, they confused, I think, Olu a little bit in this game. You walk up 8, but over here, you've got the 2 on this side, right out here, both bail out. So now Barner was staying in. Cross assumed he had pressure. Okay, well now what they've done is they've initially got Olu sliding left. So now Bradford and Lucas here on the right both fan out. Now again, they drop another defender. So now Bradford's got to pick up Harrison Smith coming off the edge. Charbonnet steps up and brings takes on the blitzing A gap. And now Lucas is beat off the edge. And this flushes Sam. Sam gets in trouble, and this causes the sack that everybody wants to talk about, that he's staring back at Bradford. And so, you look at this. 8 were initially identified by Olu as pressure guys because they're all pressure potential players. When you snap this ball here, Bradford's guy bails out, and the 2 on this side bail out. So you go from 8 down to 5. 3 bail off out of the initial 8 that are accounted for. And so everyone wanted to blame Bradford for this. Nothing to do with Bradford. Bradford actually is the guy he's supposed to deal with, because if you think of it from the start of this play, if Bradford's guy comes on us right through here and Bradford steps and seals, and Lucas deals with the initial guy coming off the edge, and Charbonnet fills in here and seals, we're okay. Because that means Harrison Smith, the most outside guy, has the longest path to get to Sam. And Sam should have the ball out. But again, this is what Flores is good at. Flores does the right thing.
If that's what does end up happening, Sam would probably end up with an opportunity to step up in the pocket there too.
Correct.
But yeah, I like that point that you made, because we've seen, it's kind of become a favorite pastime among some fans to just put all of Anthony Bradford's bad reps on tape and make it go viral. And there have been a couple from earlier in the season where very, very similar pressure packages like this is what's happened at the snap. And when his guy leaves, he doesn't know what to do. And he just kind of looks lost in space. He seemed, first of all, his awareness on this snap to immediately recognize his guy was bailing out into coverage, and then to be able to go looking for work there. Now, I want to watch it on this one. Does Lucas just get complete flat out beat here, or is he a little confused for a sec? It looks like maybe he's a little confused at the snap.
Now, I think what the issue here for Lucas, and I think he's a little confused, is who do I take? Because is Harrison Smith, and I think what he's looking at from this point of view is Smith coming inside? So do I stay and pick him up and let the edge go out? That's what I think Lucas's situation and dilemma is that he's trying to figure out here. And because of this, they end up both going outside. And, once Lucas finally commits.
Yeah.
Now, see, this is what I'll say. This is actually a great play here by Bradford to try and step in and take the stunt coming inside. The problem is where Sam now inevitably bails to is right to where he's shoving him. If Sam is able to, again, and this is where a little bit of the pocket presence, Sam should try and scoot through here. And I get there's a defender right there. I understand that for people that are going to be, well, there's a guy standing right there. He's just going to, well, yeah, but if Sam can get out and underneath, he can then bail out this way.
Yeah.
And this is where Sam, again, this is why I tell my quarterbacks, it's hard to beat an edge player upfield and to the outside, because for them, Sam makes a great thing, but now you've got this. Now you're in a real tight situation, and it's a dead play.
And I will say this for those who might have been concerned the last couple of weeks too, because we're going to see a couple snaps from the Atlanta game too. Not Charles Cross's best performance in the first half in that game. But before anyone jumps to conclusions, gets concerned there, week after week after week this season, when you see the metrics on how tackles are performing when left on an island, Cross and Lucas have both graded out really well throughout the season. It's not a consistent issue with them.
I will say this, though. They have better practice at it than most, considering what Ryan Grubb did to them last year. So
this is
on another side of it.
This is true.
The other little joke I've got here for everyone that wants to get on Anthony Bradford.
The problem with that, sorry to interrupt, the problem with that is Grubb kept leaving his tackles on an island, even when it was Michael Jarrell and Stone Forsythe.
Correct. He did. It was just a philosophy of the Ryan Grubb system. The one thing I'll say here is I am a person that believes right now, after looking at a lot of Anthony Bradford tape, that Anthony Bradford is the best right guard option right now on the Seattle Seahawks roster. And I think the coaches know that. And I think that's why you heard, the reinforcement of that by Mike McDonald this week in his press conference about how well Bradford did grade out for them.
Yeah.
I also don't think he is the option that will be on the roster next year in 2026. I think both are true things. And so the one thing I'll say is everyone loves to do the whole Anthony Bradford meme about how bad he is, and he just looks like he's wandering around aimlessly. And not to put a player on blast here for walking around aimlessly, but watch AJ Barner. And he's a tight end. AJ Barner kind of just floats around out here looking around like nothing's going on. And I get he's backside. I'm just making a funny joke here, Dan, about the fact that, everyone wants to give Bradford crap. Okay, so here's another one. And this is another situation where, you see what the Vikings have got lined up here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defenders lined up. Okay. And currently you got your 5-0 line plus your tight end plus your back. So you actually, in theory, outman them and should be able to block this up. Now, we know with Brian Flores, he doesn't ever just make it that easy. So as this play goes through, you've highlighted that backer. This, to me, is one of the bad reps of Anthony Bradford in pass protection. But I think what he was thinking, again, we don't know what the call is.
Right.
I think Anthony thought from the beginning of this that Olu's going to step across, Zabel's going to step here, Cross is going to step here, and Barner's probably got a check release here on the edge player out here.
So
this allows...
How much of that is up to him, though, right? Because once Olu makes the call, shouldn't that, in theory, tell Bradford exactly what his assignment is? Or is this where Flores just did a really nice job of confusing him?
He did and he didn't, because this is where I think he confused Olu, because I think Olu gave a call. Olu steps the other way. And look, if you watch Bradford here, he is eyeing 51 because outside of him, it's right side protection, right? When you create a pocket, you are trying to create a bubble or a umbrella effect for your quarterback like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, Olu's going to step out here to 51 because he assumes he's coming, and Lucas is going to step out here. So if you look at the way I've drawn this, it kind of creates a bit of a bubble. It creates a bit of a pocket. However, when the play starts, you'll see Olu, what he does outside of that, and I'm just going to take all this away. Olu steps down here. And so this is where I wonder if there was a cross of communication between the two of them. And maybe there's a call in there from Benton or Rick Dennison or whoever where, hey, look, if there's a walk-up backer, it should kill the call. We're taking most inside threat. And in that case, Bradford should have stepped down into here. And then Lucas should step down. And then Walker should check this guy out here and then release out into the flat. But again, as you watch this through, that doesn't happen. What ends up happening is you end up getting a situation where Olu goes one way, Bradford goes the other, and this defender that you mark here, Dan, does not get touched. And this is what I'm talking about by, again, Cross has no one to pick up. Barner staying in as a max protect. And I think this is something I think we've seen it now in the Atlanta game too, that some of these defensive coordinators are picking up. It's going to be really fascinating to see if Chris Shula does it when we play the Rams in 2 weeks. If we walk up and they max protect and they bring in their tight end. How do we make him now basically stand there? Because here, Barner's waiting for Van Ginkel to come and engage with him, but he's not. Because see, Barner, is so laid out of his route. This is how they're playing with Kubiak's philosophy and Benton's of, okay, we're going to see protection or pressure. We're going to protect up with this by keeping our tight end in. And this guy looks like he's coming in Van Ginkel, and then he's going to stand there and say, okay, you make the move, Barner. What are you doing? Yeah. Well, now it throws Cross off. It throws off the whole line call. And so when you watch this, he comes straight through. And again, Sam does a good job of bailing out.
Yeah, it's really the only place he had to go.
And he's got to throw it away. But this is what I'm talking about by just, again, small communication. You have 3 guys blocking 2 Vikings. You shouldn't have that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good example. And I'm not here to be the president of the Anthony Bradford fan club. I just I think he's unfairly singled out at times and on plays where he shouldn't be unfairly singled out. It's like last year when people wanted to find reasons to pick on Reek Wolin. They'd find a touchdown pass that was given up or whatever where he's in the area and they'd blame it on him, only for someone who knows X's and O's much better than whoever tweeted that in the first place to come out later and go, no, that wasn't his responsibility. He was doing the right thing. It was on somebody else. Again, I think we can all agree he's a weak link on the offensive line, but all indications lately are that he's playing some of his best football.
And I think the thing too with the situation, if you look at it, is again, like what situations are we putting in? We talked about it. I know you and me were texting about it in that game when Sam had his turnover. Why are we putting Sam Darnold in those situations? And this is one of the things I look at with the Seahawks is
when it was 3rd and 1.
Yeah, when it was 3rd and 1. Why are we putting Anthony Bradford in situations like this? You also get people that want to blast him. How often, if you watch Anthony Bradford for an entire game, and you see these people put out all these bad reps he has, there are massive gaps in a game between these bad reps. And I'll be one of the first people after the Minnesota game. I went on my reaction show and went, you know what? Anthony Bradford played horrible, blah, blah, blah. And I tore him apart. Then I went back and watched the all 22 4 different times. And one time I watched every rep of Anthony Bradford and I went, yep, I was wrong. He wasn't, and I came back and I owned it. And I'm not saying Anthony Bradford's a superstar. I'm not here to be, I am Anthony Bradford's biggest supporter, but I also don't think he's as horrible as some people want to make him out to be. So,
all right.
Back to this. So we get another look here. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 looking pressure defenders. 51 in the middle is your Mac. He's potentially in a spy position. And again, this is a key thing. You've got the tight end here with AJ Barner. He's hanging out inside, looking like he's going to help out again in pass protection. So, and you got Elijah Arroyo over here, which is or is not a great thing for pass protection. So we'll play this play through.
Is that Arroyo or is that Cup?
That is Arroyo.
Okay.
So again, here we look at this. We see that they bail out. 55 picks up, and this is just Charles Cross getting beat. And to an extent, this is not a good rep from Gray Zabel. Gray Zabel here gets walked right back into Sam's lap. Charles Cross gets beat right off the edge. And not on a stunt, just pure with speed.
Yeah.
And you look where Zabel's going. Yeah. Like that is entirely on, again, your left tackle. And to an extent, Sam. Like Sam needs to feel this, move a little bit more in the pocket, in my opinion. At this point, Sam needs to start stepping into here. Or he needs to be going right to his check down right now. Because where his eyes are, looks like he's looking at Arroyo.
Yeah.
Get off of it. Get to your check down out to Walker.
Which at times in this game, this is from the first half, but the second half against Minnesota, it seemed like he made that adjustment. And then I think we saw it a number of times this last Sunday in Atlanta too, where it seems like getting to that check down, getting to that hot read is something that he's doing quicker.
He is. And so one thing I want to say here is between Olu and Bradford right in here, Olu actually gets beat and Bradford saves him. So as you watch this play through, Olu gets beat on a swim.
Oh, yeah.
He is now looking at the ground.
That's an Anthony Bradford lunge pass protection special, actually. Olu's been, yeah. Which
and then
Cross kind of makes that mistake here too, a little bit of a lunge. But with Cross, I wonder if he just kind of took his set too deep.
He did, in my opinion. Now, again, I'm not an O-line expert, but by the looks of this, I feel like he expected an inside move to come back into this area, and he never got it. And Turner just keeps working the outside.
It's a great example of we hear the term speed to power. That's what Turner just did right there. He just converted it.
Yeah. And then Bradford does a great job of washing 50 this way after Olu struggles. That's a good play by Bradford. And then, it ends up being what it is. But this is, again, where you look at it and everyone's so hyper fixated on Bradford all the time. Zabel's had some bad reps in the last few weeks. Cross has looked a little bit more susceptible to certain things. It'll be interesting. So here we go with Sam again. So again, this was a staple in this game. 2 walked up linebackers and you got 4 D linemen. So you got 6 theoretically coming in pressure. And again, are these guys truly coming in pressure? And that's the thing with Olu. You got to make that call with what you're being presented as the picture. No different than a quarterback. You make your snap adjustments, sight calls, and all that stuff based off the pre-snap picture, and then it can completely change once that ball is snapped. And so we'll watch this through. Now, the O-line, great rep here. The back and tight end, absolutely awful. Barner here, down here in the bottom. Barner is not doing a good job. Like he's washing. Charbonnet being known for the pass protecting back. I have no idea why Zach Charbonnet's idea here is, and maybe he gets coached up, is why am I trying to meet this guy here? If this guy's forcing this, his next likely move is to come back underneath into here. And watch Charbonnet overset. He goes out here, and what does Van Ginkel do? He spin moves.
Yeah.
He knew as soon as Charbonnet went there, okay, cool, I'm just going to go back inside and bang.
Yeah.
And Charbonnet, for being a pass back, pass protecting back and being known for that, he should not be making that mistake. Because he should be going, okay, I'm here. I'm going to just keep walling this way, but I'm not going to overcommit. The minute he overcommits, Van Ginkel knows he can go back inside. So
the call was correct. This is an execution issue.
Correct. Yeah, completely. Because you look, if Charbonnet had stayed in this area and just waited, Barner can either wash him around, because at that point, Barner's fine to wash and Sam can step up. And if you watch Sam here, he gets the top of his drop. Okay, I'm setting. Okay, I'm backed up a little bit. I hitched up. Now I'm going to step up. And he steps up because he's feeling that upfield pressure. Okay, I'm going to step up into my pocket, not expecting Van Ginkel because he's expecting Charbonnet to pick him up.
Yeah.
So just another thing. This is execution. This is on the back and tight end. Your O-line did a good job picking up everything else, but you had 7 guys in and got beat by a 4-man rush.
I think it's an important part of the lesson because, and maybe it's just that we've been beaten up so badly the last 10 years as Seahawks fans watching bad offensive line play that we want to blame it on someone. We want to find an easy fix. We want to believe that we can just swap out one guy and everything will be fine, or it's on the play caller. Sometimes you just get beat. I mean, those are AJ, most, if you talk to most Seahawks fans, they would tell you AJ Barner is a good blocker. Zach Charbonnet is good pass protecting back, as you said. Sometimes you just get beat. You just don't play the play right, and the other guy plays it better.
Completely. And so here we go again. We've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys lined up in pressure. 2 walked up inside backers. You got 2 off the edge. You've moved down to safety and Harrison off here on the edge. And so now this is going to be a situation. Is all the pressure going to come this way from this side? Or is it going to bail out and you're actually going to get some sort of stunt on this side? So that's where it's going to get interesting. And this is something I think, teams are starting to figure out with Seattle's offensive line right now is they may have very simplistic calls because they're trying to your point earlier, Dan, build continuity with an O-line. We talked about it off air, but build continuity. You simplify things through that process because they're not completely comfortable. And I get they've been through 14 games this year. That's still not a lot to really, truly build continuity and trust with the guy beside you. Some of the best offensive lines played together. Like, look at Steve and Walter Jones and Robbie Toback and that O-line. They played together for 4 years before we saw that 2005 All-Star lineup that they had, where that was probably one of the best offensive lines we've seen in football.
Yeah, I think that's I talked to Ross Tucker on the show yesterday, former NFL offensive lineman, asked him about how important continuity is. And he talked about that actual specific idea. And I think I'll play that clip right here so that people can hear that.
I guess what I would tell you is that it's very similar to most professions where the more time on task and the more time on task with colleagues, the better off you'll be as a company, as a unit, whatever. So I am a believer that continuity and chemistry matter. Obviously, you have to have the good fortune of staying healthy, but being able to keep the same guys. I think about the Broncos in the 90s or, the Patriots offensive line with Brady and the Colts offensive line with Peyton Manning. They kept a lot of those guys around for years, and it really put them in, I thought, a good spot. I always had respect for the organizations that would promote guys from practice squad, and those guys end up starting games or having roles, because then there's a level of trust there. You know that they've put the time in and they understand the system. They understand what they're being asked to do. Here's one way I would describe it, Dan. When you're next to somebody for the first time and you're not sure what you need to do or that they know what they need to do, you might make the call. Like, let's say tug. That's tackle down, guard around, okay? You want to make sure that young tackle knows to come down. Well, after you do that once or whatever, we always love to say that D linemen are dumb. They're not that dumb, okay? So if they hear it a couple times, they know that. So when you get to another level of familiarity with the guy next to you, you don't say tug. You just say, yep. Like, to make sure you're on the same page, but you don't have to say the word. You know that guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, when you really get good? When you're making dummy calls. When you're saying deuce, like it's a front side power. So the D tackle will go to a knee to take on the double team, but it's really a backside scoop on zone. You're making dummy calls to mess with the D linemen and linebackers mentally, and you can make a dummy call because the guys next to you know what they're doing, and they know you're making a dummy call. But you got to really build that up over time to be willing to use dummy calls, because you don't want to make a dummy call, and unfortunately the guy next to you does the wrong thing then because he's a dummy. So you want to be able to give those fake calls if you can.
Yeah.
All right, so Dan, you got this highlighted here, bottom, and at this point, just to specify, Christian Haynes is now in at right guard. Anthony Bradford's now out. So now you've got a bit of a continuity throw off here with Christian Haynes in. And so we'll see how this goes. So you got, this is Ken Walker here doing what we call an orbit motion. And they bring everybody, but this is where they don't. And this is, again, where you get a fooled situation. Right here, this defender, again, is looked upon based on the call like a guy. And so what may have happened here, Olu may have gone, hey, you know what? They've been faking their linebackers and then dropping them. So we're going to stay in our sets. It'll be fine. Problem is Abe Lucas is hyper-focused on Van Ginkel out here. And Van Ginkel is actually the reason the red circled individual here, I think it's Hargrave, actually gets the pressure. Because as you watch this play through, again, this is where when Kubiak does weird things with Ken Walker, teams take notice of it. And it almost tips the hand a little bit. Watch what Van Ginkel does on this play in particular. He bails right away to Ken Walker.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, the problem is Lucas was anticipating him coming.
Yep.
So now Lucas steps out. Christian Hayne does the right thing and takes the inside A-gap pressure, because you always take inside pressure first. But now it leaves this guy coming straight through, because theoretically, Abe Lucas should have slid down. And then you leave Van Ginkel coming off the edge, because all Sam's doing is then quick throwing it over his head to Ken Walker. But because Van Ginkel goes out here to Walker and Lucas chases him, now you're leaving, again, interior pressure coming through. You don't have to worry about Harrison Smith, because all Sam's going to do here is look down the field and then immediately turn to it.
Yeah.
But he just turfs that ball because Van Ginkel's waiting for it. This was, again, Flores anticipated something, and then when he saw it, they knew exactly how to react and blow it up with just one player doing one thing to throw it all off.
Now, my apologies. I didn't record down and distance on this play, and so maybe that was a factor. But when you see situations like this, where at the snap there's you've got 7 guys on the line, but 3 of them are outside the tackle box, so you're 5 against 4 inside the tackle box. As an offensive coordinator, like, couldn't you just audible to a quick inside run here?
You could, but the thing that's interesting about this is, I think from Sam's perspective, he's looking at this going, okay, Van Ginkel probably has no idea that Ken's going to do this, because I don't think they had done many orbit motions in that game with Ken to that point. So we can catch him here. They're going to, the safety's going to, and probably what Sam's anticipating is either the backer or the safety is going to run with Ken. That doesn't happen. And so what happens is, if you watch Van Ginkel here, and I got him circled again, watch what happens when Ken starts to move. When K9 starts to move here, watch what happens to Van Ginkel's split. He actually widens. That half step.
Okay.
That half step is a tell that he's probably not coming now on this rush. And Sam shouldn't be able to identify, okay, look, neither the safety or that are going, so maybe it's this backer here is the guy that's going to follow, or maybe it actually might be Van Ginkel that is the guy that has responsibility. But then as you watch, boom, Van Ginkel goes.
Yeah. So that's just when you tip your cap to the defense. It was the right call. They had the right call at the right time.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. And it's also coaching. It's also understanding film and studying tendencies. And hey, when Ken Walker does this, this is what could happen in these situations. So again, here we're under center. You've got 2 tight ends and Callerup and Barner in. So you've got a 7-man line plus your back. And then you've got Van Ginkel really wide outside here. And again, this is just another good pressure look from the Vikings. And that's just, in my opinion, that is all on Nick Callerup. There is no reason, in my opinion, for Nick Callerup to step down to help Abe Lucas with this inside defender. No reason for it whatsoever. And I think this is just an assignment issue by Callerup here. Because as you watch this through, Abe Lucas is fine in that situation. Completely fine. He's not going to struggle in there. Bradford and Olu are doing a good job. Zabel's got his, Cross is waiting for Van Ginkel. Callerup coming down here and focusing here on Hargrave, I believe. Look at what Turner does. Turner just goes, he kind of does what we've seen the Seahawks do so well and just ricochets off right into the spot.
Yeah.
See ya. And Callerup's so hyper-focused on the double team. Like, that makes no sense to me per scheme-wise, because if you look at this, you should be going, okay, Abe's got him. I've got Turner. Barner's got the outside. We're good. Bradford is your guy that can be your helper, whether it's stepping inside here, which he does, or stepping here if he needs to.
Or 55 comes. Yeah.
Or, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where you can go with Bradford and go, okay, so Bradford's going to pass off. Now Abe's stepping to 55. Callerup, you're still on Turner. Barner's still outside. But this is, again, where I think you just, execution, understanding responsibilities bites Seattle because Callerup comes down, but he allows Turner just to like go right on by. Like and this is the one where I know Sam fumbles on this, but I'll be honest, as a quarterback, when a D lineman has a perfect shot at a football where there is nothing impeding him to you, you're in trouble. Like, I don't care if you're Tom Brady, if you're whoever, that is a losing, like this fumble. I don't put so much on Sam as I do on Callerup for being a rookie, not understanding your assignment in the front. You're dealing with that well, and that's going to happen. But this is one where it's like, Sam, like you could hold that ball with vice grips. It's still probably popping out.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're into the Atlanta game, Dan. So
Charles Cross lost himself some money on Sunday, potentially.
Oh, did he ever?
Did he
ever? Yeah. So this again, you kind of got this kind of very similar to what the Vikings did with their walk-ups. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defenders that are on pressure positions. And this is where I think, to a point, I think this was Anthony Bradford's best game, even in his pass sets. And so you watch here, this whole grouping here, interior-wise, Zabel's looking to help out for that inside stunt from 27. Bradford's stonewalled 98. Like, this is perfect. Like, he's not going anywhere. He anchors well. Olu's doing a good job eyeing the middle linebacker. Lucas has his guy. Charles Cross just gets worked. And I think teams have picked up on he anchors really early. And guys that can convert, to your point earlier, power to speed are creating problems for him.
It's interesting sequencing here because on that rep before, when you put it on Callerup, on that rep, very similar rush from Van Noy, and yet Cross pretty much handled him with his punch, basically. But here it almost looks like his feet get crossed up a little bit as he's in his back pedal because he doesn't know which way Pierce is going to go, and Pierce is really, really sudden. He's a really twitchy, quick edge.
The one thing I'll say that Pierce does really well here, and especially for a rookie player, I think is really impressive. He actually leans hard inside. Like he's trying to work a move to the inside. So as you watch Pierce take this angle, see how he's really now broken inside?
Yeah.
If I'm Charles Cross, I'm thinking he's trying to work his way into here. Like he's going to come with a rip now underneath. He's going to try a swim. He's going to try something to get inside pressure because 55 and 11 here are in spy. One's on the quarterback, one's on the running back. So the thing that Pierce doesn't understand as well is with Charbonnet being there is, okay, great. I've got Cross now going inside. Now I'm going to use my speed and come out. And this is where Cross he oversets and he tries to almost shove Pierce towards Zabel, and Pierce disengages and is just in the backfield.
And it makes Zabel look bad too, because he was expecting, he looked like he was bracing physically for Pierce to come back right inside now as well. Yep. He doesn't. He's caught off balance. Now he's pointed back towards the quarterback. And these are the kind of reps that people have been clipping together with AB earlier in the year and making him look bad. Like, why is he turned around facing the quarterback? Well, it happened to Zabel here too.
Now, the one thing I will say, I believe this is on the first drive of the game and the first 3 plays. And I think this was the last play of the first 3 plays.
It was. Yeah, this was third down because they went they went with the 2 quick sideline screens. They went JSN to the right and Ken Walker to the left. So it was second. I think this is 3rd and 12.
Yeah. And this is where I got so annoyed with Clint Kubiak right out of the bat and what's been bothering me with him. And that's a whole nother thing. But this is the one thing that people don't understand. When you're in this situation, that right there is now another defender for a defense to use, because your quarterback is not, and so is the goal line. The quarterback is not going to bail into his own end zone to try and escape. He's got to try and go forward. Well, guess what? If I'm an edge rusher, cool. I can go out here as wide as I want because I roughly know where this dude's going to end up in the middle of the field, the quarterback. So we'll move on to the next one here. And again, this is just, I think in this case, this one, you're not outmatched. This one, there's a normal 4-man front with 2 linebackers. And 55, yes, he looks like he's coming on this. So again, this is Charles Cross. And this is one thing I've noticed.
He gets
Cross seems to be going into more of a 3-point stance now. In pass sets. So here he's in a 3-point. He's been, and I could be wrong, but it seems to be more of a thing he started to do now, where he used to set up like Lucas and be in a 2-point, especially in a pass situation. And I don't know if it's something they've said, hey, look, you need to get in a 3-point because it's becoming a tell. But I think it's one thing that's causing Cross some problems getting out on these speed rushers. Because now, see, he oversets, completely oversets.
It's ironic because the thing on Cross coming out of college was he'd never gotten a 3-point stance playing for Mike Leach.
Yeah. He oversets now, and he's right in the way. And this, I think, would have been a touchdown. Because this is Ken Walker on this linebacker on a rail route, and if Sam's able to actually put that ball where he wants to, I think it's a touchdown. And again, this is just a situation where Anthony Bradford, Abe Lucas, they handle theirs. Zabel and Olu are dealing with their interior pressure, which is fine. The backer doesn't come, but this is where you can't overset as an offensive tackle, especially when your running back is out in a pass route, because you know you don't have anybody filling in for you.
Yeah.
And this is, I just think he got beat earlier in the game with speed. And as a player, what's your tendency to do? I got beat this way. They're going to do it again. They're going to do it again. Okay, now I'm going to beat them there. Well, now you overset, and now you've allowed this massive gap here to develop because Zabel's had to step down and help with that interior A-gap pressure. Bang. Inside, you're now beat. Now, he does a good job of recovering and washing him by. And what I'll say here is Sam's got to have, like at this point, if I know I'm not even in the throwing motion, like Sam is not ready to throw this ball yet. He's still mid-drop. Like he's still, like right now, if I'm Sam, I'm gone. I'm out. My tackle's beat, and I can see my tackle is beat.
Well, and I think that speaks to what you were talking about, that he must think he's got a huge play here to Walker, because his tendency when he feels pressured exactly like this is to go to the left.
And he should. And this is where I think his eyes, like you look, he loves this matchup here. And Walker now has beat this guy. He's got the 55, is flat-footed down there in the very corner of the screen. I know most can't see it. And he tries to get it there, and he just doesn't end up. Because if you look at how this is like that picture, Sam's probably trying to put that ball in the back pylon, and Ken Walker's getting a touchdown out of it.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. Clip 9 out of this grouping. And this is where we just get some interior pressure. So again, see, now this is my point. They're under center, and Charles Cross is in a 2-point stance.
Yeah.
So that's something to pay attention to for listeners, viewers. See what Cross does, and see how much he flip-flops between a 3-point and a 2-point stance. So what you're going to see is you got your 2 tight ends in, you got Caller up and Barner in, and Olu just should never have let him go. And this, to me, is miscommunication with a rookie guard. Understanding, again, this is where you watch Zabel here. Okay, I got my hand here. And then this stunt here with the outside loop, Zabel's trying to get here. And Olu assumes, because Zabel stuck his hand there, is staying. And it's going to be a pass off, because now Olu is now trying to step inside here to take the stunting defender that's coming.
Interesting.
And this is just a really good call by the Falcons. This is really well executed. And this is something I don't think Seattle's seen a lot of, is that 3-man stunt. Because this is where you get in trouble. This defender back here actually isn't coming on pressure. He's going to shoot for Charbonnet, assuming Charbonnet is getting the ball.
Okay.
And so you see this stunt on the inside, and now Olu's trying to pick up 17, and it muddles the whole thing.
It's interesting, and again, I think it speaks. And when we're done with the clips here, I want to ask some questions about this. But it speaks to youth, inexperience, and lack of continuity, because we've seen many reps from Zabel similar to this, and we've shown some of them on this segment where he does have that technique where he feels out with one hand the guy that's coming, and as soon as he feels like that guy's taken care of, then he peels off, but it allows him to stay connected even when his head is turned elsewhere. And this was a case where he did just that. But to your point, had to have been assuming that Olu was going to stay with that guy. But at that exact same split second, Olu's deciding, well, I think Gray's got this guy. He's got him taken care of, so I'm going to peel off and get this stunner.
And this is where, to the point of your episode that you did, Dan, with Ross Tucker, there is, that's words. That's just literally like Gray could, as they build more continuity, Gray could say Pinocchio, and that means to Olu, hey, look, there's a guy coming. I've got to go outside. You have to stay with your guy. And that's where you'll start to see that, and you'll feel that too. The line will start to feel that out amongst each other. It's like, okay, like I know what it feels like when Gray's got the guy versus when Gray's checking to see if that's something else is coming.
Yeah.
So this is one of our last clips here. They're in shotgun again. And so they keep, and again, we're looking at this from a pressure look. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is where you'll see them drop one of the linebackers out. Now they're just bringing a 4-man rush. And this, to me, is, again, a miscommunication with Gray Zabel and Olu Atimi. Because Bradford, and this is actually, and this look in particular, is very similar to saw with Brian Flores, right? You had the overload on one side and only the 2 on the right.
Mm-hmm.
So you theoretically, based off of that, have 4 Seahawks blocking 4 and 3 blocking 2 because if Charbonnet stays in as a check release guy. Your problem is, as soon as this play starts, is Zabel gives up inside. Charles Cross is kind of now waiting. Bradford, again, here people are going to look and go, oh, well, Bradford's not blocking anybody. His guy stands up, the linebacker.
Yeah.
And Bradford does the right thing here. He stays inside this time, where last week he chased a bit. He stays inside, but Olu's getting turned around in here. And this is where the stunt is. Gray overcommits this way. Now they've got a guy coming back. And that's the one thing Gray's going to learn, I think, as the more he plays, is if there's a guy fighting so hard and ridiculously hard into another offensive lineman, something else is coming on the other side of this. There's some stunt coming or something. Very much to what DBs are taught. Hey, look, if you're in zone coverage and a guy goes through your zone, guess what? There's likely another guy coming back. Don't go chasing him.
Yeah,
that's the same principle here.
And it's what the Seahawks do so well. He should be seeing this exact concept in practice every single week.
And this is where Zabel then and because Olu gets turned around, they both give it up. And then Sam, but this is where Sam, I like to see this. Sam makes the decision to go.
That's why I put this one in there. I put this one in for you.
This is the up and out. But the thing that I don't like about this, Dan, Charbonnet, again, as a blocker, you see that this is getting very muddled here. As a running back, getting out so quick like that, like he shouldn't be leaving. He should be looking in here potentially and waiting to see. And him getting out here does no good, except it pulls a linebacker and Sam can take off running. Charbonnet, to me, has been a little bit suspect this year in his pass protection. Or just his, and so there you go. Sam goes, Sam slides. But this is a good out and up from Sam. He gets the top of his drop. He feels the upfield pressure, step up. Now get out.
Yeah. Definitely felt like he was more decisive about using his legs in this game a couple of times.
Very much so. And so we got, this is our last clip. And this is where, again, you see the fake and you see the pressure. And now see this one for me with this particular one, you get the fake. Walker's got to do a better job blocking. We know Walker's not a good blocker. He has got to make a better block here and stand up this mic. Because Bradford's doing fine here with Olu. They're doing a good job. You got Lucas getting beat, though, on the edge. Like, Lucas is in a sketchy spot here getting beat up field. And he anchors enough, but this is where I wonder sometimes with Sam, and this is something I've been watching, is Sam's tendency to get too deep sometimes in his drops.
Okay.
And so the reason I say that is you have to know where your tackles are roughly going to set on certain pass concepts, whether it's play action, because they're expecting you to set in a certain spot. And I remember Dwayne Brown talking about that adjustment for him coming from Houston to play with Russ is I have a certain way that I'm blocking based on a certain concept and when I expect the ball to be out of the hand of the quarterback. And if you're at the wrong depth or you get too deep, like this is where I teach all my quarterbacks, get up and get out. Because Sam going back, this guy, all he has to do is peel off this way and he's already got a better pursuit angle. And Sam is not Michael Vick.
Yeah, right.
So as you watch this, Sam could go up. He could go right through here. And he kind of looks at it for a second. And then he does this. And look at what 17 has to do. He just has to go this way and chase.
Yeah.
And yes, Sam makes a great throw out of this and gets the ball out there to, I think that's Martin. Or not Martin, sorry, Cody White. Gosh, 82. And for some reason, I was watching old Seahawks things and saw Ravel Martin the other day and was like, hey, look, it looks like Cody White.
There's a pull for the past, right?
I was watching the what was it? I was watching the Seahawks 2010 final game of the season versus the Rams with Charlie Whitehurst, and he hits Rovell Martin on the first drive down the field.
Yeah.
So there's my random pull.
7 and 9 in all its glory. Yeah.
Yeah. But then you just look. Sam's now caused Abe Lucas to lose his position.
Yeah.
Now he makes something out of it. So anyhow, that's the film lab this week on the good old breakdowns.
So I want to approach this a couple different ways to wrap this up. The news became official today. Jalen Sundell designated for return off injured reserve. And a fascinating thing has happened in the last couple of weeks. I know you and I had a conversation about it recently. I've been saying on the show ever since Sundell went on injured reserve, at least as soon as we saw how well generally Oluwatimi was playing when he took over. And actually the run game we've seen tick up 5 straight games now, over 100 yards rushing, and their average yards per carry is up as well. And they're now averaging, in the last 5 games, they're averaging 140 yards rushing as a team, which if you spread that over the entire season would place them 3rd behind just the Bills and the Bears right now. And so that's one thing I want to get into. But Sundell was the starting center to begin with. The last couple of weeks I've been saying, hey, when he comes off injured reserve, I think he's going to be given a shot to compete at right guard. And I know I wasn't the only one discussing that opportunity, but now you think he's going to play center again and soon, right?
I think Sundell will start at center this week if he's healthy. If they
actually is it because of the communication with Zabel, some of those things that you show there, is that the biggest reason?
That you got to look at it this way. Olu's come in, and I think Olu's done a very good job.
I think he's a starting center in the NFL.
I agree with you. And I think the biggest thing, though, is he's played, what has it been, 4 games now, I think, or just over that, 5?
It'd be 4, and, well, the one that he had to take over, 4.5. Yeah.
Right.
5,
where at that point, you know, Sundell has played a lot more. And Sundell, at a point in training camp, got a majority of the reps because Olu got hurt.
Yeah.
So there's those extra weeks added onto it. I also think there's something that, you know, as much as the run games, you know, a lot of it, and I've attributed it to Olu's ability, I think, to get them in some of the right run checks and just he's a better, I think, run blocking center. I think there's been an opportunity for Sundell to learn from that sitting on the sidelines injured. And that's something I think a lot of people may miss when guys are injured is when someone comes in and there is a more effective way that someone else is doing something, Sundell isn't sitting there going, yeah, when I get back in the lineup, I'm going to do it the same way I was doing it before. Well, no, the run game's working better. Hey, what's Olu done differently with whether it's checks, whether it's targeting? Like, what is he doing differently that I wasn't doing? And Sundell's probably learned a few things watching Olu do it. And I think Sundell is a better pass protector as a center. He does still struggle to anchor, but I think he's a better and more athletic pass protector. And there's that continuity factor. Like, that's their starting 5 again. And that's why I think, like I said, you know, to the point about Bradford is I don't think they probably view Sundell as, okay, if Bradford gets hurt, he's above a Christian Haynes or a Bryce Cable do. But I don't think they view it as, hey, you know what? We need to put Sundell there because Bradford has been so god awful that we need to get him out of the lineup. And I think that goes with what Mike said. I think that goes with what some of the stuff we've shown on tape goes. I strongly encourage people to not judge a book by its cover, and don't also think that Bradford is perfect. But what you see these social media TikTok guys put out there of like
all or nothing.
This, he's all or nothing. He's horrible. He's god awful. It's just most of those guys
doesn't
when I
belong
watch
in
them
the
and hear
league.
them,
He's either an all-pro or he shouldn't be in the league.
right. And when I watch some of these TikTok guys go off about how bad Sundell is and he shouldn't even be on the field and stuff, and I'm going, the way that they're even talking about the rep when they're like playing it through on TikTok, I'm going, you don't understand football. You don't understand what all the other pieces are going on around them and what is his actual role and responsibility. Oh, because he turned around and guess what? I could probably find footage of Steve Hutchinson at a point as a player turned around looking at his quarterback, Matt Hasselbeck, getting sacked on a play because they get beat because the defense has a better plan on that particular play. Like, that's the whole thing. It's
the best example I think of that recently, and you touched on it in the very first clip we showed, is that was the one where somebody got a screenshot of Darnold on his stomach with his arms up like this. It looks like he's looking directly at Anthony Bradford, who's looking back at him. But when you watch the replay of the TV angle that screenshot is taken from, that's the play where Sam got slammed down to the turf. Should have been a pass or a roughing the passer called. He's looking directly at the referee, going, "What? Where's the flag?" But somebody made it look. I'm glad you brought up the anchor issue because that was going to be one of my concerns if indeed the move was, hey, let's put Sundell in at right guard. And I do think that a few weeks ago, there's indications that would have been under consideration. But to your point, Mike McDonald coming out effusively this week and talking about how, we beat up on PFF a lot, but the last 2 weeks they've had Anthony Bradford as our highest graded offensive lineman. And McDonald himself this week says he graded out for them as the highest graded offensive lineman in the game too. So I think that's shifted their thinking a little bit because my concern would have been with Oluwatimi at center and Sundell at right guard, lack of anchor. You can get away with that at center. You need to be more mobile and you need to be a little quicker off the snap. But at the guard positions, you got to have people movers there. And I do think now I've changed my mind. 2 weeks ago, I said I think the best starting five you could finish the season with is with Sundell at right guard. I don't feel that way now because of the way Bradford's playing right now. I think their best chance would be to put Sundell back at center. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think it also will lend to help them with understanding communication and calls, right? Like that's the one thing we looked at when we got through a majority of these clips was, there's probably a communication issue. There's probably a continuity issue. Again, not every offensive line is going to be perfect. Not every defense is going to be perfect, except Seattle's really pushing that envelope this year, trying to have every single layer of their defense be perfect. But like you look at even our receiving core in Seattle, we don't really have a number two option. Like Shaheed started to show up. Torrey Horton was someone we were banking on. Cooper Kupp hasn't, become something. There's a lot of teams that can function with a number one star wide receiver like JSN type and still function and have a competent passing offense with guys that aren't going to see the same volume or number production.
Yeah.
Same with offensive lines. You're going to have a weak link. We could get another veteran next year, Dan, and we could be sitting here having the same conversation about, man, we brought in so-and-so and he's playing the exact same way Anthony Bradford did, but he had all, it can happen. You don't know.
Yeah. And on that point, I want to ask you this because, draft conversation is going to be starting soon. And I even in the last 2 days, I posted a mock draft on Twitter and I'm already hearing it. Every single time I post a mock draft, I get fans come back to me and say, if you're not taking an offensive lineman, if you're not taking a guard in the first round, you're doing it wrong. You have to take a guard, And it doesn't matter how much I try to educate these people and let them know that 6 months away from the draft, you can't make that kind of declaration. You don't know what kind of class it is. You don't know how the board's going to fall. You don't know what the Seahawks are going to do in March and leading up to the draft in free agency or through trades. And my point has been, and I'm glad I got to talk to Ross about this yesterday, and he agreed with me, 7-year offensive line vet, played for Parcells, Belichick, Schottenheimer, Gibbs, right? Continuity is more important than individual talent along the offensive line. And then at some point, this offensive line averages 24 years of age. They're tied with the Texans for the youngest offensive line in the league. At some point, stop throwing more rookies in there. And if you are thinking this offseason, and the Seahawks very well might, that you need to upgrade that spot, to your point, go get a veteran, right? If you're going to go with another young guy, I would then argue that Bryce Cabeldue, Jalen Sundell, maybe Christian Haynes, maybe Mason Richmond, who have been in your program, are probably better choices than whoever you're going to get in the second or third round.
And that's the thing. Like, if you go back, and in my opinion, you go back and you look at the Mike Holmgren era, just for a reference here, go look at what Mike did when he came in, and you go look back at the O-line they had. Starting in 2002, you had Walter Jones, you had Steve Hutchinson, you had Robbie Toback show up, Chris Gray was there. So you had, and right tackle was kind of that revolving door a little bit there at that point in that early era, but you had four.
Yeah, it was Locklear,
of your starters.
Giacomini, yeah.
But like, you look at that group from 2002 to the time they went to the Super Bowl in 2005, Walter Jones, Steve Hutchinson, Robbie Toback, and Chris Gray had all been playing together for at least 3 years.
Mm-hmm. And nobody would ever argue with you that Robbie Toback is an all-pro, or that Chris Gray was an all-pro, or that Chris, right? Like it, to your point, let's get 5 guys in there and develop them together, and stop adding more rookies to the pile. That's my opinion on that.
I think next year, I'll say this. I do think Seattle may take a guard. I don't think it'll be in the first 3 rounds. I think they'll take a fourth, maybe somewhere where they don't have a 4th round pick currently, but a mid-round guard. They'll take a guard there. I think what you'll see them do is add a veteran who they think has starter capability. I think you'll see Christian Haynes will still be on this roster, as crazy as that sounds to some people. I think he'll be here still.
Well, I think the fact that they've been playing him at center a lot lately, I think speaks to his versatility and probably increases his chances he'll be on this roster. Yeah.
And I think you'll see Mason Richmond and Bryce Cable do a part of that right guard competition, because I'll say this. I expect Josh Jones to still be on this roster for the next 2 seasons, because I think he's going to be a vital swing tackle. Yeah. I think you'll see Richmond and Cable be part of that competition at right guard going forward, because the one thing is Cable has not been inactive all year.
Right. Yeah. And I know it was only, 9 or 10 reps on Sunday, but I watched every one of them on the all 22, and like, he's got some upside, man. He can, at his size, like how quick he is off the ball. I'd like to see what he can do in his second year. Yeah, absolutely. Final question. One of the more interesting potential storylines Sunday that none of us saw coming as of 48 hours ago is Phillip Rivers potentially seeing the field on Sunday. Now, I think you have to believe if Riley Leonard feels good enough, and it sounds like he's improving, if he's good to go on Sunday, you're probably starting with him. But if it goes terribly or he tweaks that knee, then we might see Phillip Rivers on Sunday. 5 years out of the game, 44 years old now. He's been coaching high school football. As someone who coaches quarterbacks and runs offenses, and the narrative has started already. Oh, he's in great shape. Oh, he threw the ball really well today. Oh, his high school team runs the same scheme as Shane Steichen, and they talk twice a week. He's ready to go. How can you account for not seeing the speed of the game as a quarterback for 5 years?
The best analogy I can give somebody is, it's like when you go away on vacation say you go on vacation for a month, Dan, and you don't drive a car. You're chauffeured everywhere. You're in the back seat. You never touch the gas pedal, nothing. And then the first thing you do once you get off the airplane coming home is you got to jump in the car and drive. And you got to figure out the proper pressure again to put on the gas pedal and the brake, because you're a little hesitant with it. It's just that familiarity kind of has to come back, and it takes you probably 5 or 10 minutes to get that kind of back to being normal, because you haven't done it for over a month, right? You're kind of just, trying to feel it back out. Amplify that feeling by about 10, trying to play quarterback again. And especially at the NFL level, like, yes, you can throw the ball well. That's fine. You're in shorts, you're in shoulder pads. Okay, great. 1, 2, 3, hit my rhythm and throw and let it go. I know the offense. I know what teams are doing and how they do certain things. Okay, that's great. But now you got the crowd noise. You've got your own adrenaline going because you haven't been, again, and that's another thing, the adrenaline factor. Phillip Rivers has been not playing football. Coaching, yeah, you get a bit of adrenaline. It's nowhere near the same. It's the endorphins, it's the adrenaline, it's everything that gets released to you as you're playing and you hear the crowd and you're back on the field and everything. And some people say, oh, it takes the first hit. Sure, if it was from the past season, you were still strapping up. Phillip Rivers hasn't strapped up since COVID was around. Like, that's where he made the joke coming into his press conference. Hey, it's not on Zoom. I actually get to see all you guys.
Yeah.
That is 4 years of not being able to, your body itself and brain not being accustomed to something like that. I don't think we'll see Phillip Rivers, even if Riley Leonard gets, dinged up. I think you'll see Brett Rippon. I don't think you'll see Phillip Rivers till the following week.
Yeah, now I can't remember who it was, but somebody made the analogy yesterday. There was another quarterback that came back around the same age after years out of the game. And again, I'm just blanking out on who that was, but they were able to come. They signed in the offseason. They had a whole training camp. They had all that time. I'll take your car analogy as you were describing that, and it made me think of one other. He's never played with this offensive line. He's never played with these weapons. He doesn't know these guys' tendencies. He hasn't been on the field with them at the same time. I always have a really hard time when I rent a car or drive a car that's unfamiliar to me, because I don't know where anything is. It drives me absolutely crazy and makes me a little nervous when I'm out on the road. Like, where are the blinkers? How do you start the thing? Like, it takes a while to build up that muscle memory. And I think I'll put it this way. If Phillip Rivers plays on Sunday, and I expect the Seahawks to win pretty comfortably Sunday anyway, against this version of this Colts team with all the injuries that they have on defense and then at the quarterback position, obviously, if he has to play on Sunday, it's not good for the Colts. It means things have either went really bad, or if he starts the game, things are going to go really bad.
Agreed. I don't see a way. The weather's going to play a factor, but again, I would say it'd be more worrisome if Seattle didn't have the run defense and that they do have. I think it may not be a high-scoring game, but the game's not going to feel close. It's going to maybe be 27-10 or 24-10, and it'll feel like a struggle offensively to get to that 24 points because of the conditions and so on. But I don't think we're ever going to feel a situation where it's like, yeah, the Colts are really in this game.
Final question. Last couple of weeks, well, there was the Tennessee game. It was kind of like consistently throughout the game, and I think they only sacked Sam once. And then we had the last 2 weeks where we saw more sacks. We saw some of this pressure that we just described. In both games against the Vikings and the Falcons, first half was rough. Second half, great adjustments. They figured stuff out, and the offense looked fine. With the Rams game now 9 days away, 10 days away, the rematch, how do you feel about this offense, Sam Darnold, and their ability to succeed in that rematch based on everything you've seen since that first loss?
Oh, you're really putting me on the spot here, Dan.
That's what I do.
I know. I feel
same, neutral, better, worse.
I feel less confident.
Really?
Reason I say that is the one caveat I think that'll help Seattle in that Rams game is the weather. If the weather's bad, if it's like it was in Carolina or worse. The problem I've got is when I look at the last couple of weeks where we've started out poorly, the offense on the other side of the field doesn't scare me. It doesn't go, damn, like Max Brosmer or, Kirk Cousins. On the other side in that Rams game is potentially the MVP of the NFL in Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, who, as much as people say, yeah, well, Mike's done a really good job, and I don't disagree. I think Mike's done a phenomenal job handling Sean McVay. But Sean McVay and Mike McDonald are my two favorite coaches in the NFL for very similar reasons. Is they are so good at, after their initial drive, of having answers to what they're seeing. And giving Sean that ability of, okay, this is what Seattle did the last time we came out in our 13 personnel. They didn't change. They didn't go to base. You don't think Sean's going to know, hey, Mike might stick with some of that initially. This is how we can exploit it and get some explosives quickly. And again, Matthew Stafford's the edge in this, in my opinion. Like, I love Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's still growing as a quarterback. He's only 28 years old. He's not 32. He's like entering, in my opinion, he's entering the prime part of his career. And we're talking about a guy that's already been in the league for 7 years. Yeah. Matthew Stafford is somehow found a way to flip the switch and go back into his prime. Where, some people were like, hey, is he even going to make it through the season? I was one of those people. Matthew Stafford is having an MVP season. The offense for Seattle, it doesn't have to be explosive and, light the world on fire in that Rams game. But we can't be, hey, the first 3 plays, we're on our 10-yard line and we're going to drop back and throw 3 times in a row and punt them the ball and give the Rams a short field. Like, we have to be able to move the ball, sustain drives, do those things in the first half, not wait till the second half and go, yeah, we made our halftime adjustments, because Chris Shula is a really good defensive coordinator as well.
All right. Well, we'll be talking about that game again together here in a couple of weeks. Bryce, as always, thanks so much for your expertise. This was fun. We'll see you next time.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks as always to Bryce. Make sure to check out the Hawk's Eye podcast, subscribe to his channel, as I would ask you to do for my own. Hit that thumbs up for the channel as well. Also, what you see down there at the bottom of the screen, www.nwforever.com, stands for northwestforever.com. That'll take you to my Patreon page where you can sign up and get all of my content all year long, video, audio, Substack, even the Discord, where we get together as a community all through the week. But that's where I hang out during games, reacting to games as well. Go check that out and become part of the community. Follow me on Twitter at Seahawks Forever. Until next time, forever and always, go Hawks. Thanks for watching, you guys.